So we're now streaming live on Facebook. Namaste, everybody, wherever you may be. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's wonderful that you're here. I'm so excited to be welcoming our guest today, Nischala Joy Devi, who is just an angel in our midst, without a shadow of a doubt. Author of 4 books, which we will discuss all 4. I'm hoping that we'll have time to do that. Just a masterful teacher, an amazing healer, such a pioneer in yoga. So without further ado, Nischala, thank you so much for being with us. This is just amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your journey has been most interesting with yoga. I believe that I don't know what you did before you were at the ashram with Swami Satyananda, but you were there for several years. Would you like to speak a little bit about that?
Well, I can tell you what I did before.
Okay, great.
Western medicine before. And
That's right.
Yeah, so that's where I combined the two, the yoga idea and the Western medicine. Yeah, it's, even now when I look at studies that come through my phone, et cetera, I realize the benefit of Western medicine, but the lack of understanding of where it all comes from and how we can help ourselves balance. So that's really one of the reasons I went to the ashram, as I became very disillusioned with Western medicine. And I realized that there was something they weren't treating. And that's the reason people weren't getting well from chronic life-threatening diseases. And that was they were not paying attention to the spirit. And that's what I went in to find out. What is this? What is the spirit? We talk about it, but why aren't we looking at it from a holistic point of view? Why aren't we looking at it from a healing point of view? And that's one of the main reasons I went into the ashram. I wanted to immerse myself completely in it. And I was actually there for almost 20 years. Wow. So it was more than just a few years. It really molded my whole young adult life. And I carry it with me even today, even though I'm not physically living there. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. Amazing.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. And I believe that's where you also met your husband, which is wonderful.
I did. I met him there. And he was a monk also. And it's interesting because our life today is not so different. It's funny, we talk about, one of the analogies they give you about spiritual life is that you have, if you also are doing secular life, you have a foot in each boat. So you have one foot in one boat, and sometimes the boats are together and sometimes they start to move apart, and sometimes you fall in between the two. But we've tried to maintain that same consciousness through our lives and through our service. We both serve people in that same way. Yeah, so it's been, it's a wonderful journey.
It's beautiful. So the first book that you gave us the gift of was in 2000, and it was called The Healing Path of Yoga, which is this one right here. And I kind of look at it, and please correct me if I'm totally off balance here, but I really kind of look at it as probably one of the very first books of what we now call yoga therapy.
It was way ahead of its time. And fortunately, it's still in publication. And I wrote it because I had just come from the research on cardiac disease. I was involved in that for many years. And we used yoga-based practices to not only help alleviate the symptoms, but actually reverse coronary artery disease. And after the study had finished, I felt that it was now something I wanted to do, to offer this to the general public, but also to yoga teachers, to allow them to see how to work safely with cardiac, and then also cancer, because I was also involved in the Commonwealth Cancer Program. So I developed this training program for 10 days called Yoga of the Heart, and needed a manual for it. So that's really how the book came about. And then someone taking my course actually saw it, read the manual, and she said, this should be a book. And the rest is history. So yeah, it's still one of the major foundation books of the yoga therapy field, because it's probably one of the main ones that has each practice and what that practice can do to make us healthy. Right. So it's not vague, it's very specific in what to do. Yeah. And I think it's helped many people also.
I remember in my yoga therapy training at the Soul of Yoga in Encinitas, which is beautifully, by the way, run by Monique Lohner. So if you're interested in being in Encinitas, California, although some of it's online now, of course, but it's a beautiful program. And that's where I first met Nischala in the Yoga of the Heart. It was just an amazing time. And I remember it fondly, and I refer to this book a lot. It's great. So you were basically you're the one who really developed the entire yoga program for both Dean Ornish study and Michael Lerner, right? Yeah, really gorgeous.
Yeah, for cancer and heart disease, because they weren't very different. Yeah. There were some adjustments, but basically, because yoga doesn't, and this is what my thing is with yoga therapy, and I'm hoping that people really understand this. When you use yoga, it doesn't really matter what disease it is. Yeah. Because yoga works from the inside out. So as long as we make ourselves healthy and strong, this is the whole thing. And even with what's going on now, I mean, we can't not talk about the 100-pound gorilla in the room, because what people don't understand is the fear takes the immune system down. We need to bring the immune system up by nurturing ourselves, by eating the right foods, by exercising, by thinking the right thoughts. And then the immune system rises and we won't have all this problem. But that doesn't seem to be what's happening. So it was the same with any disease, really. At its core, what we want to do is we want to bring in the spirit to remind us of really who we are. And that's what the book hopefully encourages people to do.
So it's the understanding that the disease is actually a relatively small part of what's going on. It's what's manifested that disease to begin with that one has to really pay attention to.
Yeah. What yoga says very clearly is the reason we have disease is because we forgot who we are. Yeah. We forgot that we are that divinity. We forgot that we are the spirit. And we identify with the body and the mind rather than who we really are. And yoga brings us back to that. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. It was very important for me to get that book written.
It's beautiful. And then you followed that up in 2007 with just an exquisite book, The Secret Power of Yoga. I'd really like you to speak a little bit about this. The Secret Power of Yoga is a women's guide to the heart and spirit of the Yoga Sutras. Why did you feel it was important to write this from a female perspective?
As a student of the sutras, which I was for many years, matter of fact, my first impulse to coming into yoga, I remember they said, you have to, yes, thank you. You have to take Hatha yoga. I said, I don't want to take Hatha yoga. I've been working with the body my whole life. I know its greatness and I know its limitations. What I want to do is I want to get into the deep wisdom of yoga. And when I started looking around, all the books were by men, and they all use terms like controlling the mind. And I really knew intuitively that that's not what it was about. It wasn't about control. It was about understanding. It was about recommitting. It was about regrouping. So I decided that perhaps after looking at so many, maybe I should do a translation. I thought, oh, no, I don't want to do it. Who am I to do a translation?
Right.
And then students started saying, why don't you write this down? And I said, so then I started doing classes with them and thinking, okay, now I'll go and write down what I said. And from it all started coming this different understanding, not right, not wrong, just different. That there doesn't have to be nots or no's in it. It can be in a positive form. And everything that is in there is bringing us to that positivity of knowing who we are. Instead of controlling of the mind thoughts, it's the uniting of consciousness. But just looking at it from a little bit of a different angle.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how it was received.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have never, ever thought, because here we are, what, in 2020, still selling really well because different teachers training groups are finding it and using it. So I think there was a need for it, and that's what I was responding to, even though I didn't understand that's what it was.
Right.
But the need was mostly mine. I needed to believe. And as a matter of fact, the inscription, could you read the inscription?
Let's see now.
I don't have any of my books with me. I'm not at home, so.
To all the future generations of women and men who will never even wonder if the scriptures are also for women.
That's why I wrote it. Because if you look in the Bible, in the Bhagavad Gita, and either of the Bibles, the Quran, there's no mention of women in a positive way. Where were we? Who are we? This to me was very important. And I think what's happened with the Me Too movement, it's just sort of engulfed all this and carried us with it. And my hope was that I was going to open the floodgates and all these other women were going to come forward and do translations. That's what I was hoping. But so far that hasn't really been the case. But I still get constant emails and texts and etc. about how much it means to people to be able to read the scriptures in a very
Gentle way.
and welcoming way. This is who we are. This is how we think of it as women. We feel. We also think, but we feel. And nowhere in it was anything about feeling. It was all about control of the mind.
Yeah.
The other thing that's so funny is I always ask people when they read the second sutra, yoga is control of the thought waves of the mind. I said, how many of you can control your mind? Nobody. So why fight with your mind when all you have to do is bring yourself back to your heart and know who you are? And that's how I've translated it.
I think in your meditation book, you refer to that as gathering the compassion. Gathering the consciousness, which is so beautiful. Yeah, so beautiful.
There's no point to fight with your mind or your body.
Yeah.
Let them be companions to you, but you're in charge. And I think the soft way, which was originally considered weakness, I think the strength, the softness is the most powerful strength. And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to do, is just embrace that. Yeah.
And so then for 12 years, you were teaching like a crazy woman. You were everywhere. It was amazing. And all of a sudden, out comes this book, which is it was so intuitively perfect timing, called The Namaste Effect. I also have that one to show everybody. You can get all of this on Amazon or on Nischala's website, which is listed. I've got it on Zoom chat, but I'm not sure, but I'll put it on the Facebook for you. But The Namaste Effect. And then this year, the meditation book, which is Meditation in the Yoga Tradition. I mean, these are two absolute gems, and the timing is so perfect. People are having the need to go in. They don't know how to go in. it's perfect timing. I've spent enjoyable hours here with this. I've even used a couple of the meditations for some of the yin classes that I teach, and everyone is just, yeah, it's beautiful. So 12 years, no publishing, and then all of a sudden these two gems come along. Did they just drop from the sky?
Well, it was interesting. I've been wanting to do a book on the chakras for a long time. Let me just say also, for the people who are listening, hi out there, that are yoga therapists or yoga teachers, I made courses for all those 3 books that are available for CEUs, the APDs for Yoga Alliance, Yoga International Association of Yoga Therapists. So you can take that course, get credit for it, and read the book at the same time. Some of it is also audio. There's an audio book of it. So what happened with the Namaste Effect was very interesting, because I had been wanting to write a book on the chakras. I've been teaching healing with the chakras for years.
Yeah.
And you go through different things at different times in your life. And what I started to feel was there were enough serious academic books on the chakras. I wanted to write something from a little different perspective. And I was looking through my notes, and I realized that one of the first courses I ever taught on the chakras, which was many years ago, was called Love Through the Chakras. So I described loving through how we love through the different chakras. And I thought, you know what? I bet that would be a good book, because to me, that old song, All You Need Is Love, is just ever present in my mind.
Right.
And there was, we weren't under what we're under now, but it was still a lot going on. And I thought, people have to start loving each other. If we don't, we're going to destroy each other. So I started this in that way, and it really started to just all come together. And for me, and this happened in the Sutra book too, for me, a very important way of learning is not to just read, but actually take it into your life. Right. So in the Secret Power of Yoga, there's practices after every group of sutras, and also after the chakras, I have a meditation on each of the chakras, which, by the way, is available for free on our website, and also my Facebook page, Nischala Joy Devi. You can just listen to it as the weeks go on. The other thing that was very funny that happened, I always love the Namaste, and I give a whole description of why we do it and how it brings the right and left together, etc. But I didn't realize how important it was going to become when we could no longer shake hands, when we could no longer hug. But Namaste, we can do safely because there's no physical contact, but there's a heart contact. And that's what touched me very deeply. So that book came out, and as I said, I did an audio book and also a course with it. And I'm very happy that it came out when it did. And I'm very happy that people can have it now. Right. Because I think we really need to remember that love comes in very different ways. Starting with the Muladhara chakra, the base chakra, of loving our earth, our mother. So I think it was a very powerful book at the time, and it came at the time when it was needed, obviously.
Yeah, still is.
One thing about writing books, you say you waited 12 years. I didn't wait 12 years. The book waited 12 years.
I stand corrected.
You just get up one morning and it starts coming, and you just have to sit at the computer and do it.
Do it.
The Secret Power of Yoga used to wake me up in the middle of the night.
Oh, I'm sure.
What the sutra meant, it wake me up, and Bhaskar would say, my husband would say, where are you going? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, I have to get this down, otherwise I'll forget. But the Namaste Effect, and that's why I called it that. Because to me, that's what, if I Namaste to you, and you Namaste to somebody else, and it changes everything. It changes. We're now not looking at the color of your hair or the wrinkles or the pimples or the color of your skin. I'm looking at your spirit and I'm saying, when I'm in that place and you're in that place, you're one. So that was the Namaste effect. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Made me very happy to give that book to the world.
And then this year meditation. It's everybody needs this so badly. And
yeah,
even those of us that have been meditating for a while, our attention span is such right now that it's hard, it's not easy. And I know that we can't be with other people to support each other. So it's sort of like, so this book is just gorgeous. And you have tapes on this as well, I believe, right?
And it's also actually I made it first as an APD. And let me tell you why. I was looking at the APDs, at the categories, and I said, where are all the meditations? You can't just do asana all the time, or even pranayama. Where are the meditations? Where are the courses on meditation? And I didn't see them. And also, most of the books on meditation instruction are not from the yoga tradition, right? So we have this rich tradition of meditation. And I thought, well, let me make a course on it. And then it was funny. I made the course and I said, you know what? I could do a book on this. So first we did the ebook, and then I thought, let's do a print book. And so it just sort of evolved from there. And I feel it was really important to let people understand that there's a rich tradition of meditation.
Yeah.
So in the course, you get all the meditations, and then but on our website again, or on Insight Timer, you can get them for free. So it's the stage that I'm just want to get as much away as possible, because it's time for people to get serious with this. It really is. And no excuses. I can't afford it. You don't have to afford it. Just click it. That's all you have to do. So this was important to me, and I wanted people to see the richness of yoga, and also the misunderstanding of what people call meditation.
Yeah.
They call everything meditation these days. And I wanted them to understand, even if it's just semantics or academic, I wanted them to really understand meditation is not a practice. It's a state of being. So that's why I did that one. Yeah. And I had another one ready to pop out, and this one popped out instead. So
oh, we have another one maybe in the
world. Yeah. Oh, I have a well, I think that all the practices of yoga that are not being understood need to be brought out clearer. Yeah. People's bags are too small. I want to give them a bigger bag that they can reach into and use different practices for people who are ill.
Well, I really want to speak to really everybody, whether you're a yoga therapist, whether you're a yoga teacher, whether you're thinking about it, whether you're a student, whether you don't have a clue what we're talking about. Meditation book, The Meditation in the Yoga Tradition, it's a gem. And I wish 20 years ago when I was starting all of this that I'd had something like that to help me along and not sort of try and recreate the wheel all on my own. So it's really a gem. We thank you so much for that. It's just beautiful. And the other thing that Nischala is really well known for those of us who have had the pleasure and the honor to study with her, is her tremendous ability to tell a story. And Nischala uses stories as she teaches, and to this day, and we're talking almost 10 years now, I remember probably almost every story that was told in the trainings that I had with her, and so many of them have stayed with me. So many I have repeated to students who come up to me afterwards with almost tears in their eyes going, oh my gosh, I will never forget that, thank you. And I go, no, I mean, that was somebody else completely different. So the story, what is the story to you? What does that mean to you?
Well, we all have a story. And we're all changing it constantly or trying in our effort to keep it the same. And stories don't like to be kept the same. Stories like to be reinterpreted and retold and reworked. So, I went back to some of the great teachers, including Jesus. And they all wove the teachings. I mean, the Bible is just, it's stories with the teachings woven in and woven through. And I think the human mind remembers stories, the teachings of the stories, even when we were little kids, right? They tell us stories and we say, oh, the moral of that story is don't lie to your mother or whatever else. So I felt that, especially I think as women, we tell stories. That's how we teach the children. If we see a little bunny rabbit and we want to talk to them about it, we say, see this little bunny rabbit? Well, it has a mommy and daddy too. And it goes back to its house. So we're trying to teach the children something about the rabbit and using our human tendencies toward that. So they know this is not something you just treat badly. This also has a mommy and a daddy, just like I do. So I think the story is inherent in our society. There was a Thomas DeMello, he had a beautiful quote, and he said, the shortest distance between the mind and the person is a story.
Beautiful.
So there's a way of and it's actually becoming very popular now. Memoirs, people are writing their memoirs. And you think, well, what is she? She didn't have such an interesting life. And then you start reading the story and you say, oh my goodness, you went through all that. I had no idea. So that's why I generally use stories. And like you said, it makes people tear up. And when you can touch their heart, everything changes. Because the heart is a direct link to the mind. And that's how we get to it. So that's why I use stories in all my books. And then I also worked with so many clients and so many people over the years. And sometimes what happens, I'm writing something and I'll hear in my ear, they'll say, tell my story, tell my story, tell my story. And so I did. I told their stories. Yeah.
There's one story that I have used many, many times because I happen to believe that karma yoga or seva is probably one of the most valuable things that we can do in our life. And there was a story of a gentleman and with his heart condition and some guidance from you about going to the hospital, to the children's ward, and reading to a child who was terminally ill. And it just, it's such an incredible story. And I'm not sure that I totally remember the end of it well, but I seem to remember that at one point he was tired and put his arms on the bed or something and was holding the book. And this child who had not responded for a month or two, he suddenly felt this little hand on his arm, and you just, how can you, and his heart just opened, his whole, the healing began. There it was, and it's just, with stories like that, how can you help but believe that there's something so much bigger than we, so much bigger than we are.
Well, I'm happy that story stuck with you, because it's a very, very special story. And it's a true story. Most of the things that I tell are true. Some are parables, some are things that I've heard, but a lot of it is what I've experienced or what other people have shared with me. I'll remind you the end of that story. Would you like me to remind you?
Sure, please do.
So he came to me and he said, I'm just not doing well. And I suggested that he go to this children's ward, because I know the fastest way to open anybody's heart is with a sick child. How can you not? And so he did this, and like you're saying, he sat there, and she at one point touched his hand, and he started to sing to her a song that his mother had sung to him. He was of different country. He came from a different country. And she didn't understand the words, but she understood the sentiment. So he came home then, and he called me and he said, well, I did what you said. I went to the hospital. He said, and I went for 1 hour, but I'm not going to do that anymore. I thought, oh, okay, fine. It's up to you. It's your heart, not mine. You know. And he said, I'm not going 1 hour. He said, I'm going 2 hours now. I said, oh. He said, yes. He said, something happened when she took hold of my hand. I felt so different. He said, and then I came home and I thought about it and I thought, I have to go back. And then he said to me, oh, and by the way, I just lowered my insulin intake by 20 units a day. He was diabetic. And I haven't had angina or chest pain now since I've been there. By the way.
By the way.
By the way.
Yeah. I'd be standing on the roof shouting that.
About opening your heart. It makes life look very different. And the body responds positively. That's why I was saying, let go of the fear. The fear dissipates health. Read inspiring things. Listen to inspiring things. Talk to inspiring people. That's what will get our immune system strong. But this fear, got to get rid of it. Yeah. So this is a true story of something that happened. And these are two major diseases, diabetes and heart disease. By visiting a sick child, who would think of such a thing?
You.
But he's been doing asana, pranayama, deep relaxation, all that, nothing worked. Sometimes you just need to pry that heart open with a smile of a child.
It's beautiful.
Touch of a hand or whatever it is. Yeah. So now you know the end of the story.
So before we leave, we're a little bit over. I'm so sorry, everybody, but how can you possibly not stay here forever? But Nischala has other things to do and so has to move along. But do you have anything that you would like to say other than what you've already said, as just something that intuitively is coming to you that we really need to remember now, aside from opening up our heart in these times of great challenge and great uncertainty, but also great opportunity?
The only thing that immediately comes to my mind, or to my heart, I should say, if you fill your heart with enough love, there won't be any room for hate. And right now, we cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought or feeling. For our own health, we can't afford it. So just keep filling your heart with love, whatever it needs, whatever it takes. And don't let any room for any kind of hatred in there. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Yeah. And remember, when I'm in that place of oneness, and you're in that place of oneness, we are one.
We are one.
Namaste.
Thank you so much. So appreciate you being with us today. Just amazing.
Good joy. Thank you.
I look forward to whatever is on the back burner or front burner.
You'll hear about it.
And I will put all the information on the books and Nischala's website and everything on the Facebook when I download this in a little while. So we really want to thank you again. And next week we will be welcoming Amy Weintraub. If you do not know Amy, you are in for a delightful treat. She's done tremendous work with the condition of depression, as a yoga therapist. She started a company many years ago called Life Force Yoga. She's written a novel, believe it or not, that's going to be very, very interesting and tremendous fun for everybody. I'm going to save that surprise for you. So please join us next week for Amy Weintraub. And once again, Nischala, thank you so much. My very, very best to Bhaskar, and I hope that we'll see you soon.
I look forward to it. Be safe and well.
Thank
And
you.
filled with love.
Thank you.